And it also made me question, how are there people that claim that they can exercise normally on a ketogenic diet? Like, it's absolutely impossible. Okay guys, welcome back to another video. You clearly know what this is as you've clicked from the title. This is nothing but me sharing an experiment with you and the results of a very extreme experiment which I did on my own body in the last 3 weeks. And I ask you to approach this with a very open mind. A lot of things happened to my body, both physically and mentally, that I had no idea would happen. This was very extreme and probably some of you thinking pretty crazy as well, but I mean, crazy is part of my channel name. What did you expect when you clicked? We're going to talk about how it affected my mental health, physical health, athletic performance, digestion, sleep. Did it fuck my mind up? So yeah, again, this is not something I am promoting. I am merely just sharing with you the results of a 3-week experiment that I did on my body, which I did for multiple reasons, mainly in the name of veganism. As someone that was formally educated in nutrition in a mainstream nutrition college, as in not one that just focuses on veganism or vegetarianism, I studied mainstream nutrition. And obviously the ketogenic diet is something that is always brought up, and you know, people are making claims for it. People are following the ketogenic diet regardless. People are following it because it is promoted as something that gives you fast weight loss results, can shred body fat, can give you better muscle definition. People claim that they control their autoimmune conditions with it. Some people even claim that it's a very natural way of being in ketosis, something I definitely disagree with. And it's also used for certain medical conditions, for example, controlling childhood epilepsy. Like I said, people are going to follow this regardless, and I guess one of the main reasons I did this is because instead of just saying to non-vegans and keto eaters who are adamant that they want to be in ketosis that what you're doing is a pile of shit and it's going to give you bowel cancer and heart disease and raised LDL cholesterol, all of those things are true in my opinion. But rather than actually just telling them how bad they are, I thought, you know what, wouldn't it actually be amazing to be very inclusive and open-minded and say, okay, if you want to be in ketosis, be in ketosis. That's your choice, you're going to do it anyway, but actually you can do it on plants. Before I actually say to these people, okay, be in ketosis, but do it on a plant-based diet, and this is how you do it, I needed to experiment it on myself to know, actually, is it possible to do it? Is it realistic? Is it even healthy long-term? Almost a call out to all those people who do it anyway, and saying, look, I did it on plants, I did it on whole foods. And I think also, I just wanted another opportunity to prove that the fat you eat is not the fat you wear. I also want to point out that there is not one way of being healthy on a vegan diet. High carb, low fat works for a lot of people. Higher fat, whole plant foods works for a lot of people. Now this experiment is extreme. And I'm not saying that like lightheartedly. It is extreme, and you really need to know what you're doing before you even think of doing something like this. I have a very rare medical condition with one adrenal gland. I will talk more about that in the video because it is actually relevant to some of the side effects I got. Also, so you can see this from a more wider perspective of how this might affect different individuals, this video is a collab with Amanda, Apples and Amanda's. If you didn't already know, she is a vegan dietitian in training, and we did this experiment together because we wanted you to see it from how it would affect 2 lean individuals, both fit, both healthy, both very active, work out a lot, how it would affect a female differently to a male. After this, go and watch her. Tell her the king sent you. In my opinion, health is not just about what you avoid, it's also about what you do consume in abundance to build and support your health, and I'm very adamant about that. A regular comment that I get on a lot of my what I eat in a day videos is that, Miles, there's no way you're that healthy all the time. Sometimes I get called orthorexic. Miles, there's no way you eat that much fruit and veggies. There's no way you consume that many raw, healthy greens every single day. I'm constantly accused of that. But the moment I post a video that was lower in carb, even though it was very high in nutritional value in terms of micronutrients, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, etc., just because the video was lower in carb and that one particular day was very high in saturated fat, everyone went absolutely berserk. Well, let's take that coconut curry I ate. I don't just look at that meal and write it off as an unhealthy meal because it is high in saturated fat. I also take into consideration what was added to that meal, all of the health benefits, the cancer fighting properties of broccoli, of leeks, of greens, of herbs and spices, and all of the goodness I added to that meal. And to my knowledge, no one is perfect 100% of the time. Just saying. There is a big difference between actual advice I might give to you in terms of telling you this is good, this is bad, include more of this, include more of that, versus what I just ate on one particular day on an experiment. One person even made a video about me claiming that I tell people the oil is healthy.
No, okay, I am tired.
Also, just for the record, I do not think that eating a high saturated fat vegan diet, even if it's lots of whole plant foods in it, is healthy if you do that day in, day out long term. Never said that, never will. If you want to put words in my mouth and make up lies about what I actually promote and stand for, all I can say is shame on you. And also, you can honestly just go if you are one of those people that thinks it's a crime to consume a teaspoon of oil a week, or that eating one curry or vegetable mix with coconut milk in it once a week is going to give you heart disease when you're following an otherwise very healthy, whole foods, plant-based vegan diet, I think you need to get help with that. So what is ketosis? Now, I know a lot of people watching this already know what ketosis is, so I'm just going to keep this very, very basic, and if you want a further thorough explanation, just Google it or something. Basically, the state of being in ketosis is when you have drained your body's storage supply of glycogen from your muscles and most of it from the liver, and your body can no longer produce energy. You can't thrive. You're not running on glucose and carbohydrates for fuel anymore because your body just does not have enough. You're not taking in enough carbohydrate. So instead, your body starts to produce ketones, which is another source of energy produced by the liver. Essentially, you're burning fat for fuel instead of carbohydrates and glucose. Your body goes through a big conversion, and I'm going to talk about that conversion in a minute because it is actually pretty severe. I know a lot of you guys just clicked on this video because you wanted to know about the weight loss side effects or the weight gain side effects. I'm going to talk more in depth about that in a minute. What net carbs are is the total carbohydrate amount left in a food after you have deducted the fiber. So for example, if you ate a head of broccoli, which I even had to limit on this experiment, which is just fucking crazy. But yeah, to use a head of broccoli, for example, if it has 10 grams of carbs, but 5 grams of fiber, then you would only count that food as 5 grams of carbs, net carbs. Now, to get into ketosis in the first place and to stay there, everyone has their own different threshold. Amanda's was actually a lot lower than mine, thank the Lord, because I just could not go any lower than I already went. Another big thing why this was actually incredibly difficult for me personally is because I do eat a lot of calories. I eat a lot of food. All plant foods, even the high protein ones, even the high fat ones like beans, lentils, tofu, and nuts, seeds, peanut butter, all of these foods contain carbohydrate. Even raw fucking onion. I would usually add a whole raw onion to my salad, but actually a large onion can contain about 10 grams of carbohydrate. And when you're trying to stay under a 50, 60 gram net carb threshold for carbohydrates, that onion just had to go, which was, for me, that's a problem. You all know how many greens I eat, and even friggin' romaine lettuce is high in carbohydrate. Apparently. It's a real killer that I actually had to think about the amount of like romaine and broccoli I was eating, which for me, that's a problem. Because again, I wanted to prove that you can do this on whole foods and not rely on things like oil and bulletproof coffee, which a lot of people do. It's just a whole mental fuck, to be honest. It almost got to the point where I was like,
is butter a carb?
You guys know I don't track, right? I don't track macros normally. I just focus on whole foods and eat intuitively, okay? That's just me. But for the purpose of this, I really did have to track my carbs because Otherwise, what's the point in doing the experiment, right? If you're gonna do it, you need to, you know, go hard or go home. You need to do it properly. So for me personally, my ketogenic threshold was about 50 to 60 grams of net carbs. Now, you guys all know that I don't count calories on a daily basis, but I do know for a fact that I usually always eat over 3,000, sometimes 3,500 because I am very active. Just for the sake of this experiment, I really forced myself to never eat less than 3,300-ish calories. I think that was maybe my lowest day. And by the way, it took me about 3 days to get into full-on ketosis, and we were measuring this with piss tests. I will say that urine tests are not the most reliable thing, but when we were in ketosis, trust me, we knew we were in ketosis because just be warned, if you're ever going to try this, that the keto, they call it the keto flu, does hit you like a train. But the first, I want to say, once I got into ketosis, the way it affected me, that the keto flu, was that I felt very euphoric. It's almost like a drug-like feeling. And in terms of what happened to me in the gym when I went through that conversion, because I did work out almost every single day during this experiment, one thing I wanted to be One thing I wanted to be during this experiment was consistent with my exercise. I wanted to not change anything, keep doing what I was doing, both in terms of boxing, cardio, and weightlifting, and see how the diet would affect my regular training. So once I actually got into ketosis and I tried doing cardio, guys, you have no idea. You have no idea. When my body was going through that transition phase, I don't do this regularly anymore because you all know I've had issues with cardio in the past and kind of using it as a form of self-medication. I really don't do that much anymore, but I wanted to see how much I could do, because I know that usually I can go, for example, on the Stairmaster, I could probably go for 2 hours and actually not feel that tired. And I mean on a hard, high level, without leaning over, because I can't stand those people that lean over on the Stairmaster. Just saying, you're not using it properly. The first few days when I was in ketosis, I tried to push myself, as in push myself, do more than 40 minutes of cardio on the Stairmaster, and I honestly felt like I was going to die. I felt not just completely drained, but I felt like I'd been kicked in the stomach. I actually felt winded. I felt winded, like I couldn't breathe. And usually in those situations, knowing myself, I can push myself. But trust me, when my body was going through that conversion into ketosis, and when my body was in ketosis for the first few days, like if you had said to me, Miles, you need to do another 10 minutes of cardio to save, I don't know, save Aslan's life, who is my nephew, who's like my son, or to save the world's supply of tahini, I could not have done it. Like, my body stopped, I felt winded, and I also got muscle cramps. This is when I realized that I really needed to eat more potassium. Yeah, the muscle cramps and the fact that I felt winded made me stop immediately, and it also made me question, how are there people that claim that they can exercise normally on a ketogenic diet? Like, it's absolutely impossible. But having said that, once that did pass, and my body was, I guess, efficiently using fat as fuel, once I'd gone through that transition stage, I actually felt amazing. I had days where my energy was incredible, not only in the gym, but also just walking around, you know, really, really high, good, balanced energy all day. That was another thing. I wasn't getting energy swings. But one thing I will mention is that even though I was eating sufficient, my usual amount of calories, if not more, I was not able to lift the amount of weight that I normally do. Now, obviously, clearly, I am not a bodybuilder, and I do not have huge upper body strength, but I know what my capacity usually is. When I was in ketosis, no matter how much I ate, I could not do the amount of reps that I would usually do on a certain weight. I just couldn't do it. In terms of cardio, once I was in ketosis, like, I didn't have a problem with it. I did feel like I lost strength, and I just couldn't keep up with my regular lifting routine or the amounts I would usually lift. The only thing that I was lacking was selenium, because, to be honest, I didn't eat any Brazil nuts during this whole experiment. But it was actually very easy for me to hit all of my macronutrient needs during this experiment, again because the foods I was eating, even though it was restricted of what I could eat, the foods that I was eating were so nutrient dense that I pretty much was covering everything easily. And I know I've put the video is up of like kind of what I ate on that higher fat ketogenic style day, but actually I tried to spice that video up a bit more for you, because in reality I was, for the majority of this experiment, I was eating 2 huge green salads a day. And then of course on top of the salad I would use avocados, nuts, seeds. So yeah, that's pretty much how I was eating on most days during this experiment. I didn't find that difficult at all, because I actually love, like I know I said in the beginning of the video, people don't believe that I eat that many greens and enjoy them. I do, like I crave greens, I want greens. But yeah, most of the days on this experiment were pretty boring because they were just 2 huge salads a day. Probably in the whole experiment I used oil 4 times, maybe 5 maximum. The rest of the time I did it completely on whole foods. I mean, I guess you could call tofu not a whole food, but in my opinion it is a whole food, it's a healthy food. The only unbearable side effects that I got didn't last. First of all, I didn't get bad breath. I don't know how I didn't, because, and it's not just me thinking I didn't get bad breath. Like I actually went up to my friends and my family and was like, do I have bad breath? And they all said no, not at all. But the one very, very unbearable side effect that I got once I first went into ketosis, and it lasted for about 3 days, was the driest mouth, like bone dry. I could barely even talk. I was literally sipping water every 2 seconds. Now honestly, the dry mouth was so unbearable. It got to the point where literally for about 12 hours I was just drinking with one hand because I couldn't bear not to be sipping water because my mouth was so bone dry, and then pissing with the other hand, and it was just like that non-stop for like 24 hours. Other side effects, apart from the weight loss, which we're going to talk about in a minute. One thing that I didn't expect to happen, didn't take into consideration before or during this experiment, was I'm an extremely anxious person. I have, like I said earlier in the video, I have a very rare medical condition called pheochromocytoma. I'll put it on the screen. Basically, it's a condition where one or both of your adrenal glands are faulty and they are stimulated too much and they produce way too much adrenaline. It was only caught and taken out a few years ago, so my whole life I've been someone that shakes. I am on medication for nerve damage, but because my body was exposed to so much adrenaline for so many years, I don't know, my nervous system is never going to be normal again. I'm a very, very highly anxious person. However, during this experiment, I was like, why am I feeling so calm? Why has my anxiety gone away? That feeling, anyone that has suffered or does suffer from bad anxiety will know that you get that feeling around your throat. You feel like you're being choked. I feel like my stomach's being squeezed. Sometimes it makes me feel sick. When I was in ketosis, my anxiety went down for the first time in my life. And again, I guess you could link this to the ketogenic does have some numbing effect on the central nervous system and the brain, and this is why it helps to prevent epileptic fits in children. So I guess this is kind of a similar thing. Maybe it does have this dampening effect on the nervous system. And then when I stopped ketosis, it went completely up again. So it clearly was because I was in ketosis. So that was a very unexpected one. Weight loss. Did I lose weight even though that was not my intention on this experiment? The answer is yes. I've always put this down to, and a lot of people also make these claims that the ketogenic diet only works for weight loss because number one, it's water weight, and number two, it suppresses your appetite, so overall you just eat less calories. However, yes, in the first few days you will lose a lot of water weight, but then even when I was in ketosis and I was eating more than 4,000 calories a day, I actually did lose weight gradually throughout this experiment. I think from start to finish, I lost maybe 2.5 kilos. I think in pounds, that's maybe 6. I would put half of that down to water weight. One clear point about water weight, you do not lose water weight consistently. You lose water weight initially. So any weight loss within the first 2 to 3 days, yes, you can say that's water weight. But any weight after that that you lose is either muscle tissue or fat. I actually did lose weight. Again, this is not my goal, and I'm pretty sure I'll gain it back in the next few weeks. Those were my results anyway. That confused me because I personally went into it thinking, okay, I'm not going to lose weight because I'm going to make sure I eat so many calories from fat, and if anything, I'm going to eat more than I ate before, yet I consistently lost weight throughout this experiment. So problems you can run into on this diet, obviously, like I said, you have to eat high fat, you have to. Unless you are really just restricting and not eating at all and going into ketosis that way. If you want to eat as many calories that I did, or actually if you really want to eat, you know, a substantial amount, which I think is probably, even for women, around 2,000 calories a day, it has to come mainly from fat, right? One potential problem you can run into, especially if you eat as many calories as me, is even if you're eating all of your fats from healthy sources like avocado, like raw nuts and seeds. Of course, all of those nuts, seeds, avocados, they contain healthy, beneficial fats, but they all also contain some saturated fat. So if you are eating as much as me overall, even though it's all healthy foods, healthy fats, your saturated fat content can be bumped up hugely. And on my days, even the days when I didn't touch any oil, as in coconut oil or any coconut milk, even on those days, the days that I did track, that I put into chronometer, because of the amount of certain nuts that I ate and because of the amount of tahini that I ate, my saturated fat intake was through the roof. I mean, don't get me wrong, there were certain days when I did actually have a good omega-3 to 6 balance, which is very important if you are eating a high-fat diet. Or actually, even if you're eating a low-fat diet, it's just always important to have a good omega-3 to 6 balance. And I'm the first one to admit that mine is not always perfect. I've even made videos about myself, criticizing myself that I get it wrong a lot of the time because of my addiction to tahini. Like I said, even though the fats are coming from healthy sources, you eat too many of them, your saturated fat can go way up. Again, this probably is not something to worry about if you're doing it as a female that's on like a lower calorie diet, but you eat as much as me, the saturated fat goes way up. So that is definitely one potential problem that you can run into, even if you're doing this on whole plants. And you know I generally eat a higher fat vegan diet anyway, but I've never eaten this amount of fat. Cravings. Did I get any intense cravings on this diet? To be very honest, I didn't. And I didn't because my meals were so damn satisfying. But I did feel very restricted in terms of I couldn't use balsamic vinegar on my salad, and I couldn't use sweet chili sauce. I couldn't use my beloved sriracha. And the worst one was that I had to limit my ketchup intake. Pretty much the only thing I could snack on whilst watching a movie, whilst going to the movies with friends, was nuts. And for me, that's not okay, because I don't know about you guys, but when you are very full up from a very fatty meal, you don't feel like eating a bag of pecan nuts. And for me, mentally, that's not okay. In terms of digestion, it was spot on, as per usual, probably because of all of the fibrous greens and nuts and non-starchy veg I was eating, so no complaints there whatsoever. During these 3 weeks, to be honest, I would not know. So would I ever follow this long term? No, personally I wouldn't, because there's no reason for me to follow it long term. I guess there's no reason for anyone, in my opinion, to quit healthy, disease preventative, delicious, carbohydrate rich foods like potatoes, sweet potatoes, brown rice, quinoa, oats, fruit. In my opinion, fruit is the, you know, I promote healthy fats a lot, but in my opinion, fruit is just king of everything for nutrition. For example, it's summer here now, it's hot, and all I want, and all I've eaten today so far, is loads of watermelon. And how could anyone not do that? For me personally, I would never follow this long term. Yeah. And I think also, even though I do, like I always say, I eat a higher fat vegan diet because that's what works for me personally. But I think I underestimated, because I don't usually track, I underestimated completely how many carbohydrates I usually eat. It's almost like my diet is high carb and high fat usually. It was so hard for me to get it under 50 grams. And if I was one of those people that personally had to get it under 30 grams, there's no way in hell I could have done this. Do I think that one could follow this long term? Is it healthy? I mean, I personally don't believe that being in ketosis, even if you're doing it on a whole foods plant-based diet, I don't think it's natural at all, in my opinion. But do I think that you could possibly do this healthily long term? I do. I'm gonna be very honest, I do. I'm not gonna promote it, I don't promote it, but I do. If you eat a wide variety of vegetables, if you are getting in so many different sources of micronutrients and antioxidants and fiber, and if you are keeping a check on your omega-3 to 6 balance and making sure that your saturated fat doesn't go too high, I do think that you could possibly do this long-term healthily, because if you look at the foods you're consuming, they're all health beneficial, like health building, disease preventative food. So I do believe that this can be done in a healthy way. Whether I would promote it or not is a completely different question. But I believe the healthiest way is a balance of all macronutrients. But could you actually do this healthily if you kept a real check on what you were eating? I think you could. I don't know why anyone would want to. Obviously, the first people that I would, if anything, would recommend this to, 100% would obviously recommend it to anyone that's already doing the meat-based ketogenic diet and they want to stay in ketosis for whatever reasons, would 100% recommend this because it's a million times healthier, and I have proved that you can do it on whole plant foods. 100% would recommend it to people who are already following the meat-based ketogenic diet. %1,000,000% would. The other thing I would recommend it for is childhood epilepsy. Of course, it is used. I know it's not successful in all cases, and I know, again, it's probably a controversial area, but it is used successfully in some children to prevent epileptic fits. If I was, or if we are able to say to those people, okay, there's some evidence that it works and it maybe is saving your child's life, but keep doing it, but do it with plants. In terms of evidence so far, I mean, I know a lot of people have not, like the vegan keto world, I know some people have already tried it. Certainly not the first one to do this, but it's not a big thing. There is some research on an Atkins style diet, and there are some studies. In fact, one particular very interesting study that showed that people that followed a whole foods plant-based Atkins high-fat diet had better blood markers in terms of cholesterol and just disease markers and inflammation levels and blood sugar levels compared to a group that ate low fat. And so that study definitely shows favor in terms of Atkins can be very healthy if you do it on whole foods. However, one of the flaws in that particular study, which I will link below, as Amanda pointed out, is that the low fat group, the very low fat group that they compared it to, was not fully vegan. They allowed them to have low fat dairy products, which of course probably fucked up the whole experiment. So I wouldn't really rely on that one, but it is interesting, and I will leave that one down below for you all to read. There are so many ways of being healthy on a whole foods plant-based vegan diet, and this is an amazing thing. It's a beautiful thing, and we have so many options. I would support a lower carb, higher fat vegan diet, again, if it's all done on whole foods and your omega-3 6 to balance is in a good ratio most of the time, because again, no one is perfect every single day, at least not that I know of. Low carb is completely different to being in ketosis. Anyways, guys, leave all of your comments and questions down below. If I didn't explain anything thoroughly or clearly enough in this video, again, just leave a question down below and I'll be sure to address it. Remember to go and watch Amanda's video now, link down below. Yeah, as always, I'm sending you lots of love. I am looking forward to eating loads of sweet potatoes tonight. and I will see you in the next video. Laters.
Satisfy my appetite with something spectacular. Check your vernacular, and then I get back to ya with diamond like precision. Insatiable is what I envision.